Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Global Innovation Forum London. My name is Merle Hall. I am CEO of Kinneir Dufort, an innovation and product development consultancy. We've been working with the Global Innovation Forum for quite a few years now, and it's a great event, the 10th anniversary of which will be this November. And hopefully we'll be there in person. If not, I'm sure the team will have some amazing ideas for how we can make it an incredible event virtually. But today I am here to talk with the wonderful Butzi, who I think, was it 2 years ago, Butzi, you spoke at the Innovation Forum?
Last year I did something as well. 2 years ago and last year, yeah. I'm a regular.
And this is part of the exclusive What's Next series that has been put together, and I'm going to go straight into our conversation, and I'm going to make sure that we hear a lot more from Butzi today than we do from myself. So I'm going to start with a bit of an introduction. We do have the chat enabled, so if you want to answer or ask any questions, I've just seen Veronica's there. Great to have you with us here today. And I'm going to go straight into a bit of an introduction as to Butzi, for those of you who haven't had the opportunity to yet hear from him at the Global Innovation Forum. So after studying economics, he spent 9 months in Latin America on an introspective journey, after which he decided to become a professional magician, which is incredible and also fills me with a little bit of terror.
Why so?
Well, my father was an amateur magician, so I think it's PTSD from all the tricks that he used to do when I was a small child, Butzi, but that's a whole other story. We
need to talk about that as well, yeah.
And the newfound passion changed his vision as he realized he could create and offer people timeless moments of wonder. So he traveled the world to perform from Las Vegas to London via Buenos Aires and became a professional actor, a creator of illusions for fellow magicians. And he writes, directs, and performs in short films alongside his core activities. In recent years, he has been studying the inner workings of creativity, writing 2 books, including The Magic of Crazitivity, and giving 3 TEDx talks on the subject, whilst focusing on the corporate world and how he could support them in their creative responses to the world's greatest innovation challenges. He's worked with companies such as Airbus, Total, BNP Paribas, Capgemini, and he is here with us today to reveal the secret of the magician's creativity. So let the magic happen. Everybody, Butzi, it's great to have you here today. And
yeah, I'm
going to go straight in with a question around how you discovered magic, and really just a little bit about yourself and what that early journey was like for you, Butzi.
Yes, I discovered magic randomly, actually. It wasn't a dream when I was a kid, like, oh, I have a box and I'm becoming a magician, and not at all. Unfortunately, I started really late. I started when I was 20 years old, actually, which is late for, usually you start, you're 8 or something. And I was in a college, and I was doing a lot of judo. So my whole schedule was around judo and training, and I got injured at the shoulder. I got a surgery and everything stopped. And I went to this coffee place that is called Le Double Fond. It's in Paris with my friends, and it's a place where magicians, waiters are also magicians, and they have like some kind of room for shows, for close-up magic shows. And the guy started doing some magic at our table when he gave us the drinks, did some magic with cards and coins and stuff like that. And I thought, what the hell is that? I've never seen that in my life. I didn't know anything about magic, and I thought it was really cool. And then he was also great at selling because he said, oh, we have DVDs and you can learn magic. And we were like, yeah. So we bought DVDs, and yeah, that's how I started. And then for me, it was really was so intriguing. I needed to know what was behind everything, and I loved the mindset behind everything. Every time I knew, I was like, oh, you know, this moment of aha, and I loved that really more than being in front of others and performing. No, that's really the mindset behind that really got me into it. And yeah, I was studying economics for 3 years, and I didn't know what to do after that. I thought, you know, whether I become an economist, which is not going to happen because of my math level, or I become a teacher, which I didn't want to. And so I traveled in Latin America for 9 months. That's what you said in the intro. And that's where I started performing. I knew a couple of tricks. I showed it to some friends, and they said, oh, wow, it's amazing. You should show it to other guys at the hostels. I was living in hostels and stuff like that. And yeah, that's how I started with magic, really. Yeah.
And is magic something that, you know, you have to kind of almost be consumed by it to be brilliant at it? Because it seems to me that there has to be, you know, a huge amount of practice, particularly as you say, you know, you're a relatively late starter being introduced to magic at the age of 20. Was it something that you just found yourself spending, you know, all your time and became a real passion for you?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So there are two questions here. The first one is, so do you have to be obsessed? I'm not sure, but I think, I mean, in everything we do, if you want to be really good, I'm not saying I'm really good, but if you want to get to the level where you are satisfied and you think, oh, I'm pretty good, well, you need to at least be super interested. Obsessed, I'm not sure, but at least be, you know, thinking about it a lot. And I'm careful with the passion thing, because I think it's so used that I'm sorry, my neighbor is looking at me over the wall, so it's disturbing me. So yeah, the passion thing is, we talk so much about passion, and I think sometimes you can just be interested in something and become good at it, because little by little you become good at it, and you figure out that maybe it's not your passion, but you can capitalize on your skills. So, but in my case, it was a real passion, and I was really obsessed. And for maybe 1 or 2 years, I was practicing 8 hours a day in my room with cards and coins and ropes and whatever. I wanted to know it all, and then specialize in something. So I wanted to have this overview about everything. Is often like that I like to process things.
I'm really hoping that at some point today you will be able to share something, you know, a trick with us. I understand it's probably not as easy virtually as it would be if we were in the room.
I brought.
Okay, that's good.
I'm not going to do it now, but I just brought something, an envelope. Inside I wrote something. I'm going to ask you something later.
Just for the people who have dialed in, I do not know what is in that envelope. I genuinely don't know.
We haven't arranged anything.
No. So obviously you know, magic became an integral part of who you were in your early 20s, but then you took quite a different direction with this in terms of, you know, really starting to understand or leverage the opportunity that magic within that broader sphere of creativity, how that they started to fit together. Because I personally believe that magic is a form of creativity, because it's a form of performance and bringing it to life and owning it in terms of developing your own style and creative instincts in line with that. So how did you begin to understand what that actually meant in terms of the opportunity to enable creativity and innovation through magic?
I love this question, because actually it's not every magician, even if they are professional, is creative. I don't know if the sentence is correct in English, but we're not all creative, because we don't require creativity. You can be a magician that is very skillful and that is just copying tricks. In our industry, it's okay to copy a trick if it's not a whole act. Okay, so we see sometimes stand-up comedian, and it's not okay if you copy a bit because he had created it and you don't have the permission. In magic, it's different. You buy a book, you buy a DVD, you buy a class, and he teaches you manipulation, teaches you stuff. You can copy it, but then if you want to add your personality to it, so you want to personalize it, and that's, you start to require some creativity to invent a story around it, to how do you say, if you don't like some sleight of hand, you can replace it by another. If you say, oh, I don't like this bit, I'm going to take it out of it. And that's the first step to creativity. And I was already doing that, but at some point I got some kind of a crisis, because I felt like which is not true, but I felt like I've seen it all in my profession. And actually it was not a real feeling. It's just that it became a job and not a passion anymore. And when, that's why I'm being careful with, do what you love, you should live from your passion. It's not always like that, because sometimes it can kill it. It can kill what you actually love. And when it becomes a job, you have to be prepared to see what it really means to live from it. And I was tired of doing always the same tricks and having always the same jokes from people and doing always the same things. Of course, you have 100 ways to be a magician, way more. You can do it on a cruise ship. And the way I was doing it was going from table to tables. I was doing it at people's places as well. And some people say, oh, but why don't you just change your tricks, right? And then everything becomes, the thing is to have a trick that is really good and that seems like magical and seems very natural, seems like you just hear but you haven't done anything, it's just magic. It takes so much time, especially table to table, because when you go table to table, you have to manage people, you have people around you, so you cannot choose any trick. You have to find a piece of magic that is that you can perform in any environment, that you can personalize, so on. So long story short, I got tired of it, and then I discussed it with the magician friends and my mentor. So they explained to me what I should do, see other artists, get inspired by other things, do things differently. And that's when I started creating more of my own illusions. So I wasn't necessarily the best creative or illusions in my industry, but I was creating my own stuff. When I was seeing a stuffed animal, I was thinking, oh, maybe I could get a sign card inside of it using methods I knew. And little step by little step, I started writing for magazines and creating illusions, especially for magician magazines. And then after 1.5 years or so, I took all of them and I gathered in a book for magicians. And the tone of it was basically, if you like me and you don't know how to, you didn't know how to, I didn't know how to do it, and you want to be more creative, here's how I did it. And it was one illusion, one insight, one illusion, one insight. Basically, that's when I went the first step to creativity. And then a company contacted me. I had already done magic for this company. It's called Arkema. It's a chemical innovation company. And they asked me, we would love you to talk just at lunch and explain what's behind a trick, what's, this kind of talk that you can see in companies, which was great. It was the first one I did, and they helped me to build it. I really asked them, what do you want? Because I don't know how to do it. That's how I did my first talk, basically, as a speaker, if I can say so, because it wasn't really very precise or very thought through. It was thought through, but it was crazy a little bit. So yeah, and then I thought, this is awesome. It's another way of being a magician. I can actually talk about what I do. I can actually explain to people how they can be more creative, and just talking about what I love. And I don't have to do it to do the job the way I always do it, basically.
And I think that's really interesting, because the creativity that you're talking about, in the way in which that you took the framework of these tricks and these illusions and created them into your own, and the creativity that took for you to be able to do that is really, I guess, in a way, it sounds like that's the essence of the process that you're talking about with corporate corporate companies. It's around how can you inject your own creativity, or is it into that, or is it more around how can you find creativity? It's quite a difficult question.
I think because there are different schools about creativity, and I wonder why it is, basically, because for me creativity is a skill, and some people say no, it's not a skill, it's a mindset. Some people say no, it's just downloads from the sky in your head. I don't know people believe what I want. I'm just telling you that I see it as a skill, because when I work with a group of people that say I'm not creative, and we do this exercise, suddenly they can do it. So how that means that consciously, if you do an exercise consciously, you become better at this thing. So that's some kind of definition of a skill, right? If I say, oh no, communication, you're born like that, you're a good communicator or not. No, it's not true. You can work on it. Of course, some people are more, how do you say, extroverts? That's how you say?
Yeah.
Extroverts, or some people are better at communicating, but if they work on this thing, they can become better at it. And creativity is the same. When I do in my workshops, I'm not saying that after 3 hours they get out and they're like Einstein. I'm not saying that, but they're a step further. And if they work every day a little bit on it, they can become creative. That's a fact. So if it's a fact, it means it's not a gift, right? So I like this approach that, look, let's do this exercise. And by the way, I'm getting crazy with this subject, because I don't like it when people say, oh no, it's not something you can work on, you're born with it or not. We're all born with it, but we have different levels, right? So it's just in our DNA. And what I want to say before that, basically, if you just start working on it, you can consciously trigger things that changes your mindset. And yes, it is a mindset, but it's also a skill, because you can influence it consciously.
I think that's really true. And I also think that skill, that ability that we have for creativity, we often find, and whether that's through, education, I'm not sure what it's like in France, but, in the UK, I think, education is not always, creative skills are not always celebrated in the same way that we would celebrate somebody who was fabulous at maths or science. And I think often we find, as part of our socialization, some of those creative abilities are quashed and are subdued through, from childhood sort of moving forward. I think, for me personally, I have a 10 and 11-year-olds children at home, and I am constantly amazed by their creativity. I just find it mind-blowing. And I think, my goodness, where did they get it from? But I think it was probably there with all of us. But I think the good thing is that we are starting to see that being celebrated more. And there was a report a couple of years ago from the World Economic Forum, where they were talking about jobs of the future and skills that are required for jobs of the future. And creativity has always historically scored very, very low in these surveys and these skills that have been recognized. And in the last one, which I think they were talking about skills required for jobs from 2022, the top 3 were creativity, complex problem solving, and critical thinking.
Yeah.
So I think this shows a real shift.
Totally, and I agree with you with the about school. But the way school was built was in the industrial period, and many of us know that already. For those who don't know, it was built around that. So when it rings, it was like that. When you job, when it rings, you finish your work, and it was built in a way that you would that they put forward more math and the science things subjects, but not necessarily skills like creativity or other soft skills. And actually, for me, it's really important subject, and that's why I'm building another company right now for parents. So you're gonna love it. I'm gonna send you things after this.
Please, yes.
It is for parents to teach their kids soft skills through fun activities. And so it's called Kids, but with a KEA, because the Kia is an intelligent parrot, a parrot in New Zealand that is creative, by the way. And so we call the company Kids. And the aim is actually the first course that we are going to shoot is going to be about creativity. So we know that school is not going to change fast enough. If we were able to do something for school, it's not changing fast enough. So that's why we built this company, to provide content for parents who want to go further than what we learn at school. And we hope that they can stimulate their creativity. But then when I wrote the class, it was funny because I was like, okay, so how can you teach a kid to be creative? And then I was thinking, but in my talks, I actually tell adults to be more like kids. So how can you're going to teach a kid? In everything I do, it evolves around the childlike spirit. Actually, Butzi is my nickname, and in the German dialect, my mother's German dialect, it means a little boy, a toddler. It means a toddler. And I chose that name for magic because the inner child is awake when you do some magic. And also because of creativity, I kept it. My company is named Butzi because of that. So when I wrote the thing, I was just thinking, I just have to give tips for parents to preserve this superpower. And I see the comments as well. I echo your words, Butzi. Yeah, I just thought I need to organize this whole course around how parents can preserve that. And sometimes I don't think that schools should necessarily have some crazy subject about creativity and parents as well, but they don't do anything to preserve it. At the contrary, they kill it, right? And yeah, I totally join you on the fact that it's required today for critical thinking and problem solving. Everything revolves around our capacity to be creative, and we don't know how to do anymore. It's killed. It's dead. It's
hopefully we'll see it coming back, and I guess that's what you've been dedicating the last few years to doing, and tying that in particularly with understanding the role of creativity within innovation. Could you give our listeners today any sort of top tips or some insights in terms of the areas of focus in your workshops?
Yeah. So the first thing is, for me, it's the attitude. So basically in creativity, that's why I was also saying that it's a skill, because it's not difficult to see that if you study one theory, another theory about creativity, another theory, there is the same principles. They always come back. They're like 4 or 5 principles. And there is one way to see creativity is that very often starts with divergence. So I haven't invented that, by the way, everything is out there. I'm going to tell you how I see it in my own words after that. But basically it starts with divergence. So you have to go explore different paths, different ideas, stupid ideas, incredible things, stupid ones, impossible ones. And then later there is a convergence phase. How do you actually going to do it? How are you going to find the best idea? Is it going to fit in the budget? We need a solution for that. Okay, that's a great idea, but how can we do it? The problem today, from what I see, is that people, they want to go to that step directly. They want to see like, oh, I want the best idea. So let's find the best idea. Of course, you're going to be blocked. Of course, you're going to go in this paralysis analysis phase because you want all the information and pop, a right idea. You cannot do that unless you're very used to being creative every day and you're always thinking about it. How it usually works is that you have to go through this phase where you feel stupid and you explore many solutions and it goes in every directions, and then later you'll find a solution. So what I say in my workshops is the attitude should be like a little kid at first. Don't try to be smart because you're going to be blocked. You have to be like a little kid, say stupid things. That starts usually with what if. I talk a lot about the what if. I haven't invented it. Again, it's a universal principle. It's a trick of the language that you can use, that it's so easy, and that can change your mindset. So that's what I was talking about when I said you can consciously work on tools that can change your mindset. Consciously force yourself to say what if, and like it's written right behind you, to ask more questions. What if we could do this? What if we could do that? What if I was promoted? What if I could live in another country? Whatever, it could be about your life, how you design your life, could be about your career, about anything. So the attitude at the beginning should be stupid. You feel stupid, great. You're in the right attitude. It means you feel like a little kid. And then later, you pick one of them, you pick one of those amazing projects, one of this stupid idea, and you are going to find a solution. And talking also about school, it's funny to me how school get it wrong about problem solving. How does the school portray problem solving? It's always a problem that you have to solve with math, first of all. It's never a problem that you have to solve with another skill, soft skills, communication, whatever. It's like, this train goes at this thing and this city at this fast. And if you don't know, you feel miserable and you haven't learned anything. You have learned that you are stupid. That's what you've learned. And your confidence go down. Real problem solving in life, it's not like that. Real problem solving is, there are many solutions. You can do it yourself. You can do it with communication. You can pay a guy to do it, whatever. There are 1,000 solutions that should be stupid and incredible. So I want to say, when you want to find a solution, the first thing that happens in your mind is, oh, what if we could do that? Oh, but it's impossible, right? We have this thing, or yeah, it's going to be complex. So what I encourage people to do is to give another round of stupid ideas, saying unless. So you say, what if I could get promoted? Ah, that's impossible, right? Unless I become better at what I do. Yeah, but that's impossible. You've reached your max. Oh, okay, so that's impossible. Unless I learn with someone who's better than me. Yeah, but that's impossible. Is that you cannot reach him. Unless I know a guy who knows him. Yeah, but it's impossible. You don't know anyone. Unless I go through internet, and it's unlimited. And to me, it seems amazing that people want to skip all that, everything I've said, to get to the end. It's impossible. And they just, we tried it. It doesn't work. Now you have to go through all these things. So just these two tools that I talk, it's in all my talks, all my workshops, what if and unless. It's giving yourself the opportunity to explore and open your mind. And if it feels stupid, it's good, because stupid idea leads you to a good one.
I love that, because I think we often hear, we talk about what if scenarios, etc. But unless is a new one to me. So, and I think, that's part of the challenge, isn't it? Because there'll always be people who will try and rationalize ideas. And sometimes you just can't do that. You have to work outside that context. And I remember hearing a speaker at the Global Innovation Forum probably about 3 years ago, and she said a line which really stuck with me, which was, innovation is the enemy of operational excellence. It sits, and lots of companies within the Global Innovation Forum are trying to address the challenge of that openness through innovation, but doing that within a very constricted and often hierarchical organization. So have you any words of advice for how they can break outside of that?
So it's getting a little bit out of my field of expertise. So I don't want to step out of it. But from what I read and observed throughout the years, and by the way, the best book about this, I think, is The Other Side of Innovation. If you guys have this problem in your company, maybe you know about this book. It's a great book about it, because they talk about the performance engine, right? And they say, if you start asking people to think about different things and get them outside of what they should do to have this operational excellence, that's how you said it, then you will lose the efficiency of your performance engine, which is the production engine. And it's totally true, because what really happens in a company, they say, hey, just guys, be creative. And the guys, we don't have time. We don't have so much to do. And it's tricky. It's a tricky one. I think what they say in the book is you should build a new team around it if you want to have some disruptive innovation. So this is the tricky thing as well. If we're talking about disruptive innovation, or if we're talking about incremental innovation. For those who don't know the difference, disruptive is something brand new to revolutionize the market, or a brand new production method or whatever. And incremental is basically you're getting better because you have a little ideas here and there. What I talk about is incremental innovation, because I think everyone can be creative, everyone can bring an idea. It's just about having this mindset, working on this mindset, and everyone can bring something to the table. And if everyone does so, it creates a synergy in the company, right? So I focus on you, on the people in the room. I'm not talking about, oh, you want to create this new pair of shoes, whatever. If you're a shoe company, oh, we want to create a brand new pair of shoes. Anyone has idea. This is delusional. It's never going to work. They have other things to do, right? So whether you just build a team, and this is going to be a crazy nightmare, because they also talk in the book about, power things between people, the relationship, and you cannot have them do two tasks and so on. So whether you have a completely new team just for this new pair of shoes, this innovation, or you just root for incremental innovation, creativity.
I think that's a really good distinction, Butzi, to actually think about that between incremental and more disruptive innovation. But just quickly, because I did notice there was a question that popped up on this as well in the chat. Whilst we're on the subject of books, you have Craig Whiteman has noticed that you have a copy of Good to Great by Jim Collins behind you, which is one of mine and Craig's favourite books. So we often use it to talk around getting the right people on the bus and the hedgehog concept. So I think he's just asking which is your favourite lesson, your business lesson from that.
In this book?
Yeah.
To be honest, I don't remember. Because I want to be completely honest, I'm not gonna BS you, because
I think you should read it again. It's really good.
No, I am. There's so many books I have to read.
I can see that.
I have a pile of things. No, I love the cover. That's why I put it for the decoration. And I did read it, I think 6 years ago or something like that. So to be honest, I don't remember. Maybe if you tell me one of the lessons, I'll be, oh yeah, of course, I remember from this book. But to be honest, I cannot answer this question. I don't want to lie.
No, that's fine. And that is putting you on the spot. It is a great cover, and it is in my library as well. So
I remember it was an interesting book, and I kept it somehow. Yeah. So if I kept it along the years, it means like it brought me stuff for sure.
There's some really interesting questions popping up, which are far more interesting than the other ones I was going to ask you around creativity and how you define creativity. I think that's quite a hard one to answer, but would you like to give it a go?
Well, open the dictionary. No, I don't. I am being serious though, if you want a real definition, but then it's also personal at the same time, Yeah. But some people, they do something crafty, they do something with their hands, and they say they do something creative, which is not true. But does it really matter? It doesn't, right? Because they feel, actually it's not true. No, it can be true if you're doing a vase or whatever, with pottery or whatever, you can have an idea to do it, but it's not because it's crafty that, I'm just saying everyone has his own definition. And for me, it's basically just around the new. If you create something new, whether it's a solution, whether it's a way to communicate. And by the way, this is something I always say in my talks. I always say it doesn't have to be something disruptive and crazy revolutionary. Sometimes it's just a little twist, It is new. It's just, it came out of your mind from two informations and pop and make it something different. For example, if you have a hard time to communicate with your boss or with an employee or whatever, and you just find a new way to approach it, that's already being creative. That's already innovation. It is new. So for me, that's what it's all about. And it is a tricky thing as well, because it's never new at the same time. It's never really new. Everything has been invented, and we don't have to fool ourselves with that, right? If you can pick up a book from Platon or whatever, or Socrates, and it's you will see that nothing really, nothing. A lot of things change, technology and so on, but principles have already been here, there, and it's very hard to invent something brand new. But it doesn't matter. It has to be original. Just taking two things, put them together, create something original already, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. We've got another great question here from Prashanth. and it's asking, do you think that to be creative is necessary to expand our knowledge horizons, to be open-minded, to look around, to get inspired by things that are happening to you?
Okay, so there are many things. Okay, so there are many. Do you always careful with it's necessary to be creative, because I don't think it's necessary to be creative for efficiency or expanding business, for example. But for knowledge, I don't think so, to expand your knowledge, because for me, creativity is how you use your knowledge to create something new, and also to link it to the previous question is a mean, right? Creativity is, it can be an end by itself. You want to be creative and you do something creative, makes you happy, but it's usually a mean to achieve a goal, right? You want to paint this thing the way you want, then you use creativity that way. Now there was something else, to get inspired.
Yes, by the things that are happening around you.
I think that's
is it necessary? Does that feed into? Do you think it's necessary to be creative in order to get inspired by the things around you? I think you probably already answered it.
I think it's the opposite around. If you are inspired by something around you, it feeds your creativity. It feeds your way of seeing things and gives you more ideas. And sometimes I listen to some music, and I don't know, it gives you this feeling of, well, you don't know where it comes from. Does it matter? No, you just do it. And yeah, inspiration is, there are many factors of inspiration: lights, venues, music, feelings, senses. You can play with them to be more creative, but you don't have to. I mean, first of all, we're all creative. That's what I said before. And inspiration helps you to maybe unlock some situations to find solutions and ideas.
I think one of the things I wanted to ask you around, Butzi, is the fact that, when I read through your biog and heard all these brilliant things that you've spent your time doing, what I loved about it was that, you were, for me, the modern day definition of a Renaissance man, and actually that was really celebrated, if we go back to the time of the Medicis, and to be great at lots of different things was really celebrated, whereas now it feels in the world in which we live in today, there's almost a pressure to have a depth of expertise in one thing. Whereas I think, what you've demonstrated is that there are so many things, acting, directing, as well as magic, and all these other skills. How do you? I think you're kind of breaking out of the constraints that a lot of us are sat within with this quite narrow pathway. How do you balance all of those, and how do you make time for them?
Okay, there are a lot of questions as well.
Yeah.
Wait, first of all, I think it's also tricky because you can be, how do you say it, dispersé, you can go in every direction sometimes and not do anything seriously. That's what they say about people like jack of all trades. That's how we say in English, right?
Same, yeah.
You're jack of all trades, you do maybe everything, but not in a good way. So it depends. It depends, if do you do it for your work? Do you do it for the pleasure? You can be a jack of all trades and be specialized in one thing. Of course, there is the time constraint, but the way I did it in my case specifically was that one thing got me interested into another thing. I was doing magic and I was feeling like, oh, I need to be better on stage, so I'm going to study theater. And then I studied theater. I was like, oh, this is amazing, I want to know more. And then I became an actor. And then from acting, I got interested into videos, and so on. But the whole thing in all of those subjects was creativity. It was always there. I was always interested in the creative ways of doing it, first of all. And also it came all together at many points. If I do a video for YouTube on creativity, I'm using my video skills, I'm using my camera and everything I've learned. I'm using my creativity, what I learned from magic, and also my acting skills. So it often comes together. So I wouldn't advise people, oh, you should be like that. It's just that sometimes you are like that and you have to fight it to focus on one thing. Because as an entrepreneur as well, you have to have this laser focus, you know that as well, and in your life, in your career. And sometimes it's hard to, when you're like me and interested in many things, to say, okay, wait, I need to focus on one thing. But then it's useful because, you know, I know about filming, I know about that, I got interested about this. And at the end of the day, I think it's called, is it something is called stacking about skills? Something, and I think it's very important when you're an entrepreneur, solopreneur. You need some kind of stacking thing going on because you're doing so many things at the same time, you know. I just started a podcast in this period, and there's so many things I'm doing. I'm like, I need to know about the microphone, I need to know about this and the technique and the video. So it's, everyone needs to find his stacking process, if we can say so, so he can achieve his goals through very focusing, like a laser focus type of process.
Yeah, no, I think, you know, and we'll touch on lockdown in a little bit, but I think that's really brought a lot of those thoughts home, because we haven't had the teams around us, you know, even for people in, you know, different environments. We've got a couple of questions, Butzi, around. I think again, this is something you can probably comment on from your experience in terms of working with corporates. But you know, do you have any experience or tips on how to generate healthy environments for creativity in corporates, and creating a more open-minded mindset within companies?
This is hard. This is super hard. I'm not gonna lie. I know that a lot of my colleagues, they pretend it's, no, you just have to be open-minded, and it's very hard because I know the inner workings of. I never worked in a company, first of all, but a lot of my friends and my wife and I know the inner workings of a company and what's going on, especially in big companies. And to reorganize the thing so that you change the culture of the company is really hard. It's not impossible. I mean, it's impossible unless there's always something you can do. There's always an unless, but you cannot do it by yourself, first of all, in your company, and you have to be somehow the CEO. So the question wasn't about if it's difficult or not. I'm just saying it is. Now about tips, well, there are a million ways that I wouldn't have invented. I just know that people have different inspiring factors. For some people, it's about space. For some people, it's about the senses. And there are already many offices that are organized like that. For some people, it's about a collaborative creativity, right? So I know that some companies organize collaborative spaces that are less, you know, all sitting in the same spot, looking in the same direction, more circle oriented, smaller places. I know that they do many things for to have a healthy environment, just in general terms, so people feel better and they can just more open their mind. I think the most important is not necessarily, if you have a priority, the most important is not the venue, it's not build the whole new office, is to change the culture of the company and support people that have ideas to come talk to you, and reprimand, or if I can say so, punish somehow people who are being judgmental and, sorry to say that, but so a bit of an asshole to the other guys, because that's there's a buzz killer in it about ego and those ego things, and a lot of managers, they close their eyes about it. You know, they just want to see the efficiency. If the efficiency is there, they close their eyes about how this person bringing new things and doing things differently got shut off in front of them. So that's, for me, that's the most important thing. When I work in groups, brainstormings, I talk about judging ideas. I talk about everyone should talk at the same time. The basic things that are not respected in companies like that, and they are in plain sight. So if you trigger more creativity in your company, don't build the whole office. The priority is look for people who try to kill creativity and people who feel judged to step outside of the usual ways, basically.
Yeah, I think that's hugely important. I think, we often see that the culture within, these environments is defined by the worst behavior that will be tolerated by the management teams. And that does trickle down in terms of, how open people are to ideas. So it's hugely important. I think particularly if there's, investment that's going behind this as well. We've got about just over 10 minutes left, and I wanted to talk to you a little bit. It's gone very quickly, but I wanted to talk to you a little bit about lockdown, because I know you've been pretty busy, and I was wondering, I think it's for a lot of people. Well, firstly, I'd like to know what you've been doing in terms of occupying yourself and keeping yourself creative, because I know there's lots of things. And secondly, it's been for many people a time of self-reflection. And is there anything that you have learned about yourself in lockdown?
Yeah. So to answer the first question in order, I worked a lot on my other company, the kids company, which is more of a startup than we cannot call it a company yet, with my associate, and so one of the things that I've learned is to use WordPress and to build a website. So I haven't learned how to code, but I thought it was always impossible. And I was like, well, maybe I can have a look into it, see if it's possible to do it without coding skills. And it turns out it is. And I basically designed the whole website. So we can say I was creative creating this website and designing and trusting my designer eye. I mean, I'm telling that to you. Mine is not very sharp, but I did this. I created the podcast. And so most of my creativity is not from artistic sources like it was in the past. It was more, I was studying clowning, I was doing acting, I was creating videos. Now I love to create as an entrepreneur. And that's something that is not often said, right? You say, oh, artists are creative, entrepreneurs, no, they do their thing, they want money, right? Which is not true, because it's very interesting and very rewarding to build something that wasn't there before. You build a website, you create a concept, we created a culture and a voice for our brand, an image, everything in that. Now it exists. Before it didn't exist. This book 0 to 1, when you live that personally, it's super rewarding. And I worked really hard during this period, waking super early in the morning with no reason. Well, that's like entrepreneur's life. And to work on that. And it was a great process. So that's what I learned, WordPress. And the thing that I was self-reflecting on is how to go from solopreneur to an entrepreneur with a team. And for me, it's brand new because I'm in my own thing, my own bubble. It's around me. I'm the product of my company. I'm selling myself. So it's really weird at the same time. And now I'm working a lot, reading a lot of books. So not this one, but soon I'm reread it.
Yeah.
Reading Gary Vaynerchuk's books, reading Ray Dalio books and stuff like that, to know how I can build a team around me, how I can work on skills as an entrepreneur that I didn't have before. So this is most of the thing I've been doing. Yeah, it's changing a lot.
In terms of what you have learned about yourself.
I'm thinking, I haven't asked myself this question.
It's a really hard question. I posed the same question to myself, and it took me a lot longer than 5 minutes to answer. I mean,
it's gonna sound pretentious, but because I always work on myself. I always. So it's every week or so I write about myself. I have a journal. I have a mindset journal. So I write about things. Oh, this is a mindset thing I need to worry about. And I have a board thing that about just my business. I have many journals and I work on them every week. So this whole thing I kept myself so busy, and I don't know if I learned something in this period that I usually don't learn. I always learn new little things. So if I tell you maybe 50 that looks like they're not wow, but they are important to me. And I think that's something people maybe should, I don't like to say should, but it would be good for them to trust these little changes, and then it creates a synergy, and then you're like, wow, I'm a different person the last month.
So suddenly there's a big change from many little changes.
Yeah.
No, I think that's a great observation. I think we've got time for one last question. So I have to ask you the question, Butzi. What's next?
First, what's next is a trick. We haven't done a trick yet.
Yes, I know.
You didn't want to ask. So I was telling you I had this envelope. I just want you, my mic is here. I just wanted you to tell me a number between 1 and 100. And by the way, I have arranged anything before.
47.
47. Okay, that's not the one I wrote in there, so you're gonna have to change. I'm kidding. No, but have we arranged anything before? No. Can you swear? Can you swear?
Well, I swear. Yeah.
So in this envelope, you're not gonna believe it, but there is one paper, and I showed you this envelope before, and nothing is written on it. No, I'm kidding. Actually, one number behind.
Wow.
47. Now people are gonna think we arranged something together, but we're not, right?
I promise that is not the case, and yeah, I cannot lie. So yeah, I don't know how you did that, but it's very impressive. So apart from impressing us with your fantastic magic skills, what's next? What are you going to focus on for the rest of this year and beyond?
So on my kids project, I want to focus on my kids project, and I want to focus on how to step up my game as an entrepreneur. For a long time, I felt not guilty, but I didn't feel comfortable saying that, because when you're an artist and a magician and you get out of it a little bit, you don't perform magic all the time, and you don't create things, and you're not expressing yourself through art. You have some kind of judgment in the community. No, it's not explicit, but some kind of implicit judgment. And for me, most of the pressure was me putting it myself. Was I didn't assume this entrepreneur thing, and now I feel myself more like an entrepreneur than an artist, which is fine. And I go 100% in that. So this year I want to work on these skills, and I want to work on my company that is kids. We are shooting soon our first course. And I hope we're going to help parents and kids if we can in the future. And just today we bought a camera. This morning we bought a camera, a big camera. So just after that, I'm gonna go play in my room with my new camera and have fun, because that's what I want to do. I want to learn how to shoot better videos and expand my company. Yeah.
That's fantastic, and I'd just like to thank you, Butzi, for being so inspiring and so full of energy and effervescence, which I think probably is something that many of us in lockdown are struggling with, just to keep those energy levels high. So it's been absolutely brilliant to talk to you, and I really hope that whether it's in November or next year that we get the opportunity to meet in person, and that we'll see you again at the Global Innovation Forum soon.
Well, if you guys go to the Global Innovation Forum, yeah, I'm usually there, and I love to talk there. And if not, it's going to be on another occasion. Yeah, thank you for your question. Thank you for your time as well.
Thank you, Butzi. And I'd just like to finish as well by thanking Josh, who's been doing our amazing live illustration.
I haven't looked at it at all. This is crazy.
Been able to see. There it is. Thank you, Josh. That looks great.
I was so in my thing and looking at you that I haven't even looked at it. Wow, this is perfect. Wow, thank you so much.
And just also just to let everyone know that a recording will be available on YouTube tomorrow. And there are still some future webinars that you can sign up for, including on Tuesday next week. We've got Miriam Sidable, who is the former social mission director at Unilever and has written a book called Brands on a Mission. And she's going to be talking with Tom from Brand Genetics. I'm sure that will be interesting, particularly as purpose has probably never been as important in corporates as it is currently and will continue to be. So so join us for that. And just like to say thank you to Butzi for one last time, and thank you to the Global Innovation Forum. And we look forward to seeing you all again in the near future. Thanks. Bye-bye.